Hello everybody and welcome back to the Night Garden. This is Newb vs. Pro, where Ledge,
a noob's drawing, is pitted against Vamp,
his pro artist husband.
Take me to your master!
Yeah?
Take me to your master, faster! You ever seen Thief and the Cobbler?
Yeah, but
There's
I was
the magician guy that's like, take me to your master! And he's like mushing weird creatures and he's going to face no eyes. Or
I was
one
in
eye.
single digits when I saw that movie.
Good movie. But anyways...
We're doing master studies today.
Master studies? What's that?
It's a little misleading to call it a master study, but a master study is when you look at a master's work and try and do something emulating their style.
Like Van Gogh, Picasso, Fettuccine, Mussolini.
No.
Yeah, probably not Mussolini.
No. But yeah, that's what a master study is. What we did is less of a master study and more of a master's breakdown, a breakdown of different styles.
So kind of similar to what we did last week, but this is like looking at...
Fine art?
Fine art.
Yes.
Those were words.
Those were the words. What we were talking about last week is how when you like something in a certain style, it is important to be able to figure out how to break it down to the elements so that you know what you like in that style, so you can implement that into your own drawings. Mm-hmm. So that's the point of a master study. It's, okay, why do I like this thing? There's a lot of nuance to this topic, so we're starting with my master study.
Welcome to part 1.
Yeah, welcome to part 1. Ledge's master study is going to be next Newb vs. Pro in 2 weeks.
As you can tell from the timestamp, this is a long one.
This is a very long one. The entire thing took me about 19 hours to do. This is actually about 15 hours of footage. I took the first 4 hours off of it. The first 4 hours are doing thumbnails and color keys. If you'd like to see that, I actually put together a tutorial talking about the nuances of doing a master study or style breakdown. And I do it while talking about my thumbnails and my color keys. If that's something you're interested in, there will be a link in the description below.
Yeah. All right, so let's begin in
3, 2, 1. Okay, so this is the tail end of a colored key, so I kind of didn't cut it directly to the end. But let's get started with talking about who I am emulating here. So I've been doing a lot of stuff in this Art Nouveau style, and pretty much the face of Art Nouveau is a man called, his name is Alphonse Mucha. Okay. He was a Jacques painter, illustrator, and a graphic artist. He did a lot of stuff for theater in particular, and he also was living in Paris during the Art Nouveau period. So the Art Nouveau period is between 1890 and 1910. There was a push away from doing things in a realistic style, like, you know, the Renaissance and Baroque and that kind of stuff. Okay. So this is where you see things that are decidedly more graphic and less grounded in reality. You'll see a lot of, like, line work, a lot of, like, color fields and things like that. So that's what particularly makes up this style. It's coupled with really intricate, very detailed borders and stuff like that. And
sure.
Mucha, in particular, he did a lot of advertisements for Sarah Bernhardt. He did illustrations, advertisements, decorative panels, design work, typography, those types of things. And he became known for the Mucha woman. So pretty much all of his artwork has a woman in the center of the artwork, or a focal point of the artwork, with flowers around her, or intricate, like, stained glass windows, patterns, all of that type of stuff.
We've shown off a piece from Mucha in a previous episode as a pop-up of when we were talking about some stuff, I think.
I think so, yeah. Mucha is one of my biggest influences, honestly. I love his line work. I love the intricate details that he puts into things, and I love how he uses negative space. So negative space, for those of you who don't know, are just the areas of a drawing or painting where there's nothing. It's like you see
white space.
Yeah, it's using the paper essentially. A lot of his stuff boils down to shapes, and at this point we're all well versed in how my conspiracy theory is of everything is a shape. But part of that is because of being well versed in graphics and looking at people like Mucha. But Mucha, he did a lot of things with halos around his characters and stuff like that. In terms of
religious iconography, like
yes, that's where the idea of the flowers surrounding it's indicative of that. So
I never even thought of that when looking at that stuff.
Yeah, it's a good way to make a focal point.
Sure.
So yeah, the curving, swooping lines is also a very prominent thing in Art Nouveau, and particularly Mucha's style. You see it a lot in the hair. The hair is usually pretty flat with not a lot of detail, like line drawn in, but does have like vague color shifts and stuff like that.
Lots of his hair is very strandy.
Yes.
Though, like, he separates, like, into stranded clumps and stuff a lot, just from what I remember looking at some of the examples that you had shown me, too.
Exactly. And, like, we'll definitely pop some examples up on the screen as we talk about them. I figure, we've got an hour of footage to cover, so...
Yeah.
But you can see here, what I'm doing is this rough sketch in the background, that's my thumbnail that I did earlier that I didn't show. And then I'm just refining this sketch of this character. Because I've talked about before that I'm really not confident in my characters. But I've been working on them a lot this year, actually. It takes me a lot to get a pose that I like. And it takes me a lot to kind of make my proportions look right. And obviously I can do characters, but they're the thing that I feel least confident in out of anything that I can do. So I spend a lot of time on this. As we've been talking about Mucha, you've seen me redo the face a couple of times. But yeah, there are certain things about characters that just I still struggle with, and that's fine. Everybody has a weak point. But yeah. Anything so far?
That was cool.
Watching me flip
that flower jewelry thing come together, and whoa.
Using all my my shortcuts here. What I just did there, I used my liquefy tool, so that moves my lines around without me having to redraw it if I don't like the shape.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. I wouldn't do that on like a final line work or something, but if you're just working with like shapes or flat color fields or something, or even a sketch, it makes it so that it feels more dynamic later.
Sure. Okay, and also you're just reusing hair again. Like...
Yep. I told you I did all my shortcuts here.
Oh.
Because remember, this
Big
is
hair.
15 hours of footage.
Yeah, that's very true. You go hard on these challenges, even though we're like, yeah, it's just going to be fun and playful.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, 15 hours later.
Well, this is stuff that I enjoy, and, I'd rather do something that I am talking about that I enjoy instead of just going, oh yeah, whatever, I need to get this done for this YouTube series I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have fun with what I'm doing. I want to talk about things that people are going to find interesting, and I want to do things that I like the result of at the end. So why would I half-ass it?
Mm-hmm. Oh, the symmetry tool.
Yep, I have the symmetry tool on. This is a big help when you're doing graphic style stuff like this. Most of this is done with the symmetry tool.
I mean, hey, it's super clever and super, like, time-saving, because otherwise, like, I've yet to discover where the symmetry tool is hidden on the iPad, and I have not used it yet.
Okay.
I think I used it once, maybe. I can't remember if I used it on my Avatar one. I think I might have.
I think so.
But I haven't used it since, and I don't know that I've necessarily had a moment where I could use it again.
Right.
With the stuff that I've made. But...
yeah, see, when I'm doing borders and stuff like that, I use it a lot.
I mean, it makes sense considering it's meant to be an imitation or a duplicate.
Yep.
In ways.
And you can do that with traditional art too. What most people used to do when it was still something that you couldn't do digitally was they would take a piece of tracing paper and they would trace the half that they've done and then just flip it over and rub it on. So that they, it's not as quick as just having it duplicate immediately, but like...
yeah.
It's...
you'd still get a copy.
Exactly. So, yeah, I'm just, I'm copying portions, I am using the symmetry tool, turning it off when it doesn't make sense to have it on. Just kind of making sure that my lines are really clean and graphic and defined, because that's what Mucha had. He had very thin lines in a lot of his inner stuff, and very thick, expressive lines for his borders, so, that's kind of what I'm doing here. I'm using my shape tools and just kind of making sure that I'm happy with how things are being laid.
Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, like... why'd you... what? Oh, it's because
it wasn't a perfect circle.
Slightly... oh, okay. Like, wait, why? Why would you... so... yeah, and like, I guess I don't really look at the shape tools like you've talked about, like just use your circle tool, just use your square tool, just use that stuff. And it's like, I guess I just kind of look at that and I go, but shouldn't I be able to make a circle myself?
Yes, and the thing is that within reason, like I can obviously make a circle by freehanding it, but it takes me 50 tries. Why would I do that if I can do it in one try and then just warp it to what I want it to be? Work smart, not hard. Yeah. I don't need to prove to myself that I can make a circle.
But I do. I swear I'm capable.
Right? Well, and that's the thing, is I had that issue when I was first starting out with art too, is that it's so easy to get wrapped up in, no, I don't want to use tools, I just want to be able to be amazing on my own. But it's like, you can make something great without suffering to make it.
Yeah. Oh, this looks so cool already. Like, one of the things that I really also love about Mucha and this, like, Art Nouveau style is those intricate borders and those, like, looking like you're looking through a doorway or a really elegant window or like a church.
They also remind me of illuminated manuscripts from the medieval ages, Dark Ages. Yeah.
Medieval cat!
Medieval cat!
Medieval cat! He's here!
Yeah, right? Cannot avoid medieval cat. But yeah, they remind me of that kind of, super intricate, beautiful, just embellishment that adds to the thing you're looking at instead of just, taking up space.
Mm-hmm. And, like, I will admit, looking at some of his pieces, too, it is very distracting and very hard to focus on any one individual piece because of that.
Yep.
Even with, like, all of the white space that he also includes.
And it's the illusion of intricacy, right? Because when you're actually looking at... let me pull up one of the more intricate things. So, his four Seasons ladies.
Mm-hmm.
If you look, all of these are just flat color fields. There's very little detail in these.
Right, but like all of the lines, like with you said, the like all of the wheat and like all the lines and the flowers, and then all of the lines and the flowers, and then like the border there is like all of those
incredibly
intricates.
detailed.
Like there's so many small little details that take up a whole lot of space that it looks really, really busy.
Same here. You know, all four of the ladies are like they're very simple in how they're designed, but they have the illusion of intricacy. So yeah, there's a lot of detail in certain aspects, but a lot of it is just flat color fields and stuff like that. Also, another really good example of this is this one here. You can see like all of that's just a gradient there. These are just flat. These leaves are just flat colors. This is all just flat color.
Yeah, but it's all broken up by lines.
Exactly.
Is the thing.
So that's where the mastery comes from. This border that I'm drawing is actually very heavily inspired by this.
Oh, yeah. Now I see that one with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. And some flowers and roses.
Yeah, I went for yellow roses because
Well, they don't look yellow.
Not yet.
Spoiler alert, yellow roses coming in.
You already saw the color keys.
I did, but the audience hasn't.
Yes, they have.
Well, I've forgotten already.
Leave me alone. But yeah,
Spoiler alert.
I went for yellow roses because I was thinking of like friendship. Like I wanted this to feel like somebody longing for friendship. Because it's a mermaid. This was actually kind of hard to figure out the shape language for the tail, because Mucha did do a lot of women, but from what I could find, he didn't have any mermaids or anything like that.
I ran into the same kind of issue when I was making mine, because don't want to talk too much about mine yet, but there are not mermaids in the style that I chose, or the mastery. I guess mine was more of a style, not necessarily an individual master, but yeah, there weren't mermaids to draw inspiration from, really.
Right.
So it was kind of challenging to say, like, okay, so using all these things from this particular master, can I make a mermaid and make it look believable for this style?
Exactly, and that's what makes this more of a style breakdown than a master study, is because we're taking the elements of the style and making something new instead of trying to copy one of their pieces. Because by definition, what a study is looking at somebody's piece, or looking at a reference or something, and breaking it down and trying to make it one for one. So when you're working on something and making your own thing out of it, instead of just copying what you're seeing, what you're doing is you're working on your design elements, you're working on your choices, you're working on all the things that go into, okay, I really like that this person has intricate details that are very swooshy and fine lined, so let me imitate that in a piece that I've designed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So...
Yep, these are the examples of the strandy hair.
Yeah, this hair takes me so long. It takes me so long. This is like 5 hours of work on its own.
Oh my goodness. Hair.
As I just cry into the mic. But yeah, this is honestly one of my favorite things about Mucha's style, is the swooshy kind of rest areas of the hair that are very intricate but also very simple. There's a lot that makes your eye move, but it's also just very elegant.
And I will say, similar to Yoshitaka Amano as well. Bless you.
Thank you.
Similar to Yoshitaka Amano as well, because Yoshitaka Amano also has a lot of that, very fluid, swooping, kind of flowy, thin lines in terms of hair and stuff like that, too.
Yep. And he's also one of my big influences.
Yeah, so you did not make the last 2 sessions easy on you.
No, this is why we have eaten through all of our backlog.
Yeah. Were there other masters that you were interested in potentially doing, or other?
I've been on a Mucha kick for the last couple, I'd say probably the last month. So I was pretty set on Mucha, but I was also thinking about potentially doing Fragonard.
What a good name.
Fragonard! Pretty much everybody knows Fragonard's The Swing. It's from the Rococo period. And it's...
Oh, yep. I think you've shown me that one.
I have. For people who are watching, I'm sure we'll pop this up on the screen too, but it's like this kind of muted colors with this really brightly dressed noble in pink on a swing, and the more you look at it, the more like unsettling it is, because you can tell like there's people like watching her. They're in this garden, and like the garden's overgrown, and it's just kind of like there's elements to it that like kind of like it's a beautiful painting, but it just kind of makes you feel like you're watching something you shouldn't be watching. It's a really interesting reaction from a painting. Another master that I was very close to picking is one that I've actually done a study of before and put into a piece back in 2022, and that is Artemisia Gentileschi. Artemisia Gentileschi is one of my favorite artists forever. She was painting around the time that Caravaggio was painting, if I remember correctly. But she was painting in a time when women really weren't painters. And she was a tech in her father's studio. That's how she learned how to paint. So she got really good at doing like fabrics and stuff like that. But the particular piece that I would have liked to study is her rendition of Judith slaying Holofernes, which is basically 2 women off to the side of a mattress beheading a man. And the way that she painted hers in particular, trigger warning for this story, she was sexually assaulted by somebody, and she put her assaulter's face on the man that they were beheading. So it's a very powerful painting. I've actually seen this painting in person. They had it at the Chicago Art Museum.
Okay.
When I was still in college, and we took a trip there, and this painting is like gigantic. It's like 15 feet tall by 22 feet wide. Cats. Yeah, it took up an entire wall on its own.
I'm not surprised. Some of those pieces are huge.
Yeah, and it just, seeing it gave me chills, and like seeing it on a screen versus seeing it in person, there's no contest. But it is a very hard piece to emulate. It's very technically well done.
Sure.
And I've already done a study of it once before. So I decided to go for Mucha.
Yeah. Oh, back to the hair, though.
So much hair.
I saw that you broke up some of it with doing some of the little pendant, and then some of it was going back to the hair.
I was going insane. So... I needed breaks from the hair, okay?
And like not all of his hair is like that detailed.
Yeah.
So you might have like even been able to give yourself a break.
But you think of like mermaids and stuff like that, they usually have their hair down and flowing. Right. So that's why I went for this style of hair. It had less to do with Mucha and more to do with the subject matter.
Okay. Yeah, combining the 2 elements to kind of make it so it matches.
Exactly. And that's honestly what made a lot of this very difficult. And here's me trying to like make a swoop. Like I made that swoop at least 4 different times before I was happy with it. That's the equivalent of doing a circle 80 times. Yeah. So but swoops, like, there's not really an easy way to make them with a shape tool or something, so I just kind of freehand them.
So I think I've realized why the hair is so intricate and so cool in this style, is that they the lines all connect, or there's no overlapping
Yeah.
of the lines.
It's all a shape. It's a singular shape.
And that's really cool, and I think that, like, watching you do this and seeing you erase out whatever out those lines, I'm, like, suddenly realizing, like, oh yeah, that is part of the style of that, and that is really interesting and really unique to that style.
Yeah, and it's something that, like, you don't notice when you're looking at it as a whole piece. But, like, when you zoom out of this, I broke my own rule here, by the way, doing this hair. I'm zooming in regularly to, like, 300%. Because the hair is so intricate and hard to do from far away.
Sure.
But I had to. But yeah, when you're zoomed out, you can't tell that there's no overlaps. It's such a small aspect of this style.
And what kind of medium was Mucha?
From what I know, he mostly did paintings. From what I know, they were all watercolor. He may have also worked in gouache. But it was stuff that, like, you could layer easily and get, like, color shifts and stuff like that.
Yeah, because there, like you were talking about, there were some gradients in some of those, and that's not, I'm sure, not easy to make unless you put it on directly a gradient paper that was already pre-gradiated.
Well, no, because you can do gradients with... So when you're doing watercolor, you do it with washes. So what you would do is you would lay a color down, and then when it was still wet, you would paint back on, and then you would do it again and again, in varying stopping points, so that it would just kind of flow seamlessly.
Okay.
And I
think we're done with the hair.
I think so. I also did the tail in that style.
Yeah, I saw that earlier. It was, like, interesting. It's like, is it a hair tail?
I was thinking of it as, like, you know when you're looking at a fish fin, how it kind of looks like fronds? Like, it's just, like, lines going off?
Yeah.
So I was thinking of it as kind of, like, hair-like.
It's creepy.
Right?
It's like a tangela got stuck up on there.
Oh my gosh.
Oh. Yeah.
I love drawing flowers.
They're deceptively complicated.
They are.
Like, looking at them, it's like, oh, it's just a couple of folds and pieces all in a circle and all around each other, and then I try to make one, and I'm just like, I don't understand why mine just looks like a weird wibbly wobbly goo ball.
Right. A lot of what goes into doing flowers and stuff like that is alternating where the petals start, because it's hard to... This is going into a little bit more intermediate nuances, so when you have a line meet another line, it's called a tangent. It creates an awkward tension where there doesn't need to be. If if I moved that swoop that I was just on over to be, like, in line with my border line, then that would be a tangent, because you wouldn't be able to tell as easily where the tail ended and the border began.
Right.
So it's very hard to avoid tangents, especially if you're not quite used to designing things as much. So, like, it's very easy with a flower to make a petal tangent into another petal.
Yeah.
And that's why it looks like this kind of awkward goo ball of nothing. I should mention, now that we've started on the colors, I'm going to start with very saturated.
Yeah.
This does not stay like this. So the way that I did my colors is I tried to emulate watercolor with digital methods. So I copy each shape that I do after I finish my colors, put the paper color underneath, and then I drop the saturation to about 20%, and then I copy my layers to put it over top. So I'm literally doing that layer effect that you get.
Since you did this stuff all with the duplication, or not the duplication one, but the, what do you call it?
The symmetry tool?
The symmetry tool. Would you be able to do symmetry tool for coloring too?
I probably could have, but that would have taken actually a lot more time because all of my colors are on different layers. So I would have had to figure out where my center point of my symmetry tool was and set that up every layer that I made. So it was easier for me to just freehand the stuff or do one side, copy it over to the other, which I do with the roses later, you'll see.
Okay.
This hair, once again, so many holes. So much. And like there's a couple of times where you'll see me like go back to line work because I forgot to do line work in certain areas.
Oh yeah, sure. Here you just like erased something.
Yep.
But I mean, with as many lines and those little things there are, I'm not surprised that there needs to be a little bit of cleanup or a little bit of adjustment.
Yeah.
Here and there.
My eyes were so tired all week doing this.
I mean, I'm not surprised considering how how many little itty bitty lines and how focused in and how zoomed in you have to go. Because yeah, like there's like points when you're 300 and stuff in here because you need to get right up on those lines.
Yeah, I mean, it's I'm sure that like nobody doing traditional art would get this in the weeds about it. Like it very much would have like if you need to pull out a loop or a magnifying glass to do your detail, that might be a little bit much. But you know.
I mean, you never know like how detailed did they go?
Right.
And to what extent did they go to really get those fine, teeny tiny details? Did they have toothbrushes? Did they have brushes with like one string,
right,
one horsehair or one hair on it to get like the finest little itty bitty line that they possibly could?
Well, and I mean that there's something to say about that because like we've gone to museums where we've seen, you know, passages written on a grain of rice and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like people do
that
get detailed.
They do that in the mall, too. They write your name on a grain of rice.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, you need a fine brush and very specific ink to be able to do that.
Exactly. So yeah, I started out with very, very saturated colors. And if you look at Mucha's colors, I'm not entirely happy with this color palette, even though, like, I enjoy the color palette I picked. Mostly because, like, this one you can kind of see is very much like that light palette, but most of the stuff that he did was very muted and earthy, exactly. So, like, I don't know if I completely nailed my colors.
I wonder if it's because he was from an era where, like, I'm sure certain dyes and certain colors were still a challenge to make.
Right.
So incorporating those colors in terms of, like, clothes or things probably was less likely.
Well, and also limited palettes are something that give you a little bit of a superpower in art. One, pigments are expensive. You know, like, when you're working digitally, you're kind of spoiled in that aspect because, like...
You don't have to buy the paints, you don't have to mix paints.
Exactly,
you don't have to...
and that's not to say that digital art isn't expensive.
Right.
You know, the software is expensive. The drawing utensils and stuff are expensive. But, like, you don't have to buy specific pigments. And pigments had, like they were made with heavy metals and stuff like that, you know, like
toxic.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into pigments where they change over time. You know, we're talking about pieces from between 1890 and 1910. So
Yeah.
they could have faded over time, they could have oxidized and changed color, like the paper, depending on how much acid was in the paper, might have yellowed over time and
Yeah.
changed that pigment. Like, there's a lot that goes into color matching. So I did the best that I could with the color palette that I picked. When you look at the color keys I did do 3 other color keys that were much more earthy toned.
Right.
But this was the one that I liked the best for a mermaid.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of one of the things too, is that like is it typical for what we would kind of expect or like want from a mermaid, from like water stuff? Because I don't know that he was necessarily doing a lot of like water influenced stuff. A lot of it was very much nature, plants. Like, water is nature, but like a lot of it was more so like plants, forest, harvest stuff, not ocean, not stuff. Where was, you said
Jek, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's landlocked.
Well, he was in Paris when he was doing Art Nouveau stuff.
Yeah.
His greatest works are actually a series of illustrations based on Serbian women, if I remember correctly. Something like that. He did like a collection of illustrations that was like really important when he relocated back to home of origin, essentially. But yeah, he was in Paris when he was doing the Art Nouveau style stuff.
Okay. Now are you going back over to darken up your lines?
Yeah, so this particular spot, all of the hair stuff, 20 times speed. The rest of it is at 10 times speed. And that's because I took one look at the hair and how intricate it was. I was like, I don't want to do this by hand. And I used a fill tool. And whenever you use a fill tool, it leaves a lot of like white broken pieces in, especially when you've got small details like this. And my line art is at 80% opacity. So I'm darkening my line art to be slightly green with that green underneath and just fixing up those holes. And this is a lot of work again. I still want to cry looking at this.
What could you have done better or differently to kind of improve this, or to like take away the amount of time?
Honestly, probably fill the entire layer with my green color and then erase out everything instead of trying to fill everything. Just the hair is what gave me such a problem. The drawing itself and then the hair. Because there's so much detail and intricacy in the drawing that there's no way to really speed up the line work. I did all of the things to speed up my line work.
Right.
If I didn't do the symmetry tool and stuff like that, it probably would have taken me closer to 30 or 40 hours to do something like this.
Now, you mentioned that your line art was on, like you lowered the line art opacity. Why'd you do that?
Because, so when you look at Mucha's work, his lines aren't black.
Oh, no?
No, some of them are, but you see around the skin how that's a dark brown instead of a black? In some of his lace work and stuff, that's brown. If you look at the Chardonnay bottles, none of this is black line work except for like a couple of these circles and the outer border. None of that is dark black line work. So part of that is because he was doing paint washes over top of his lines, his inks. He may have also used like a burnt sienna for his line work or something like that, as opposed to a stark black ink. But that's why I did that. I have my thick borders as black and everything else is at 80% opacity to take on the color that's underneath it, to emulate that watercolor.
Okay. Interesting trick there.
Right?
Having known your colors ahead of time, couldn't you have made your lines kind of not complementary, actually technically complementary, but like ones that kind of matched, or would have been...
It would have taken me a lot longer to do the line work at that point, because I would have had to stop, figure out what color that would be, do it all on different layers instead of just one layer, because all of my line work is one layer.
Yeah.
And that slows things down. I'd rather take the extra small amount of time, to do something later that makes my life easier than do something, that takes triple the amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I play with opacities a lot too. And also you get happy accidents that way. Like there are certain things that like happen when you lower your opacity to your line work that you wouldn't have been able to emulate because you couldn't have expected it.
Okay.
I used I think 8 colors in this piece.
Yeah, you could kind of see your color palette over on the left-hand side there for a second.
Yeah, I keep hiding and showing the color key that I used.
Yeah,
so
I'm sure that helps for your reference to be like, okay, what was this again?
That's the whole reason why I did the color keys before I started to just draw, because it's a lot easier to, again, limited palette. It's a lot easier to know what palette you're working with because, one, you don't have to worry about mixing those colors or finding those colors again. You can just color pick.
Mm-hmm.
And two, like having those colors off to the side, it's just like, okay, am I still close to this?
Right.
And you can see on my color key that I tested that 20% gradients and stuff like that too, to an extent.
I'm honestly surprised that you didn't go with the crescent moon design that you had done, considering your affinity towards moons and you have we had a fey dangling ornament and stuff that was very much that.
I'm still so sad that broke. I did really like that one. I honestly couldn't choose between the two, so I asked. You were one of the people that I asked with the thumbnails.
Mm-hmm.
I asked 4 or 5 different people, okay, between these two, what one do you like? And everybody said this one. Except for one person, I think.
Yeah, I mean, both of the designs and the styles were really cool.
It's not like I'll just throw that out either. There is a chance that I might do it at another time, just for fun if I can't think of anything to draw. This is why I keep all of my sketches and stuff like that, because, like...
Unless you delete it.
Well, yeah, unless I delete it, but... if I have concepts that I don't do for a design, usually I keep my alternate concepts and stuff in the file. I've said before that the way that I work is very focused on little victories. Right. Because when you're doing a long form piece like this, when you're doing something that you know is going to take you a ton of time, several hours at the minimum, it's really easy to get discouraged and say, I don't want to do this. Let me just toss this somewhere and not touch it for 6 months.
Sure.
Right? So if I have a little victory every so often, it's like, okay, I finished this set of layers. Now I can put this aside. Now I'm on to the next piece. Yeah. Or, okay, I'm in this little chunk of this drawing. Mm-hmm. Let me work on this. When I finish this, that's a victory.
Yeah. I'm gonna say, don't like these colors, but I know you said you put them in super saturated or super whatever early on.
Yep.
So I'm curious to see how this this color, because I know that these are also your like colors, green and purple up in here too.
Yeah.
But like this green feels so
bright.
Gross.
You'll like it later.
Oh, it's very hard to look at right now.
It is very hard to look at right now. It's because it's all saturated and bright. Ow. I can't sit like this anymore.
Right? It's like middle. It's like right in your the middle of that ear.
Yeah.
Color.
Smack dab in the middle.
But it's more on the bluer side, so it's like a sea foamy green.
Yep. Which works well for, like, the concept that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree, I hate this color when I first put it down. And then I started putting down the darker green, I'm like, I do not like that. So then I changed it to yellow, and now I'm thinking...
Go, Pack, go!
No!
Go, Pack, go!
I hate it. But yellow, green, and
It's an unfortunately good combination of color.
yellow, green, and purple are is a tertiary triad. I'm pretty sure.
Mardi Gras.
Yep. I didn't think about that when I did that, but yeah, pretty much Mardi Gras.
I mean, Mardi Gras just lives in our
Souls,
and our bones at this point. So
Ledge and I went to New Orleans for our honeymoon, and we absolutely adored going.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not during Mardi Gras, though, because that would have been hell.
I mean, I'd like to eventually experience Mardi Gras, maybe.
It's so loud and people-y.
That is very true.
We don't even go to parades here.
I know. Too people-y.
Too people-y. 5 people-y, even.
1 million people-y.
Ugh. Look at these. Wow, that's a green.
It's the same green.
Is it really?
Yeah.
It just looks so different with the... I don't know why it looks so different.
It's the same green.
I don't know why. It looks different. It looks greener than the blue-green.
It's because it's focused on the purple instead of black. It's, yeah... This is a good lesson in how color changes how you're looking at things.
Colors are fake.
Colors are not fake.
Oh, this was... I love it.
Yeah.
Good. I'm so glad that happened.
I told you I flipped it later.
Yeah. But no, that...
Okay, so this I sped up to 20% too. This is just me lowering all the opacities, copying the layers to make it so that they are clipped to the layer of the same size. And then I start doing my washes after I lower everything.
It's so wild, the differences.
Already, right?
Yeah. Just lowering the opacity changes stuff.
Yeah. And there's different ways to lower the opacity too. If you have something lowered to 20% and then something else on top lowered to 30%, it's going to look different than if it's just 50% opacity.
Right, it like comes through.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, look at the pretty water. Whoa.
So yeah, this is just me playing around and trying to emulate watercolors.
Yeah, this is really nice.
I had a lot of fun with this. This is the part that I enjoy the most, I think. Just experimenting with the color and making it shine or, try different things, see how it works. This was a lot of fun. I have a couple of textured brushes, too. After I'm done with everything, I do go over with some textures to make it look like traditional media. And I think it winds up looking really good at the end.
It's very pastel-y now.
Yeah.
Like before it was so very...
It doesn't stay pastel-y.
Yeah, because pastel's not really the style. Oh, shadowing.
Yep. Which I cheated a little bit because Mucha didn't really do anything in terms of shadowing, but I wasn't going for a 1-for-1. I was just trying to emulate the style,
Mm-hmm.
I used a gradient tool there. And then this is one of my texture brushes.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's got like this speckly look.
Yep. It's actually from a marker set that I bought a while ago. But, it still works very well for what I used it for.
Yeah. Like, the water really reminds me of, your Copics.
Yeah.
Which is interesting to see digital, knowing that it was not made with actual physical markers. But
it's
digitally.
cool what you can do with different texture effects.
Mm-hmm. And I have none. On the iPad, I have 4 brushes.
You can get a lot, though. I'd let you use my computer if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
I do have a second key for Clip Studio Paint if you wanted to put it on your computer.
Did he have a lot of shading in the skin?
Very slight shading. And, like, it's all very soft, very slight, and it's all just done with layering.
Right.
So I'm trying real hard to keep it subtle.
Right.
Because you know me, I'm trying to be like, there's got to be definition. There's got to be, like, this needs to not be so soft. Like,
Yeah, whoa. Was that trying to, like, emulate, like, freckles and stuff?
no, trying to add some warmth to the cheeks.
Okay. Weird to just suddenly see, like, blotchy redness.
Yeah.
This weird, like,
I should have hid my marching ants.
weird hairy fins.
Yeah.
So weird.
Sorry.
Oh,
Enjoy the nightmare fuel.
it's gross. It's like anemone tail.
A little bit.
Whoa, hey, whoa, hey.
Playing with my colors.
What happened?
I was trying to. I didn't like how the purples were layering at that point.
Yeah.
So I was trying to fix it.
Whoa.
So again, I'm just going over with that middle purple and my dark purple and trying to, like,
Find the balance.
yeah, and making a gradient.
Yeah. Oh. Reflection.
Again, I'm cheating a little bit. Mucha didn't do many reflections.
I don't think there were too many situations where
Water.
there was water.
Yeah.
That was the thing. Like, so much of it was very much like harvest and forestry and
Goddesses.
yeah, focusing on flowers rather than anything
Yeah.
sea-based or river-based or pond-based or lake-based or anything like that.
Exactly.
So that's very interesting contrast to go from that to this.
Right? This color method was really interesting. I feel like it took me a long time, but also I really, like, enjoy the result.
I do like how there's like splotches of gray. It looks like gray in any case in the hair.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a desaturated green. It's the same green that I'm using to make that kind of whooshy detailing right now. And that's because it's a fairly desaturated green that's at a low opacity.
Right.
So playing with opacities can do a lot for you that you can't just easily emulate trying to pick colors on your own.
Right. Yeah. Ooh.
It's like, okay, let me take a break and do
Shell.
yep. Again, all just the same color at different opacities.
Right.
Like, this honestly...
Do you have to do that on a different layer then?
Yeah, each layer, each time I darken is a new layer.
Ugh.
That's why I have so many folders on the side.
Yeah. I've been ignoring looking over it on that side of the screen.
I know, the folders give you stress.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, it's just... There's so much
More gradients.
happening. Yeah. This time for the border.
Yeah. I kept the border pretty dark while the rest of it I kept fairly light. Oh, I was checking my values there.
Right. I never do that.
I've made it really easy for myself. There's a way that you can set it up in your accessibility.
Yeah, you've mentioned that you have like hotkey stuff established. Oh, that looks so cool.
Thank you.
Do your yellows come back, or do they stay that?
They come back.
Okay.
The way that I was working on this is I went from the bottom of my layer list to the top, because by the time I got to the top, I was like, okay, I'm done. So that's kind of how I got through it each time.
These splotchy pieces that look like almost water damage.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah, like, because I don't think that we've seen you use texture in any of our previous Newb versus Pro.
I haven't had a reason to.
It's really cool to see the texture and what it can do and how it, you were saying, like, it almost looks a lot more traditional rather than digital. And I agree. It does look very, like, not colored pencils, but, like, markered.
Yeah.
In that regards.
Marker, paint, gouache, something.
Yeah.
Like, it's got that very pretty kind of layery effect. And
I noticed that the hip fin where the fish meets the human is like purely translucent.
Yep.
At the moment.
No, I did that on purpose, and I was debating whether or not to do it with the tail fin too. But then I just kind of ran out of steam and went, I like the tail fin as it is. I don't want to have to redraw all the stuff that would be behind it. I'm just going to leave it as is.
Sure.
But I liked how you could see the subtle shifts in color of the skin underneath that translucent fin.
I almost expected it to have some of the pink in it.
It does.
Partially
it's just that thin, yeah.
It doesn't even look at all like it has any, so
the only thing that I forgot to record is I put a box board texture over top. So I have a bunch of textures that I bought from a place when I bought those marker brushes.
Okay.
That look like paper. So if you lay that over top of a digital piece, then it'll give that kind of texture.
Sure, like that grain.
Yeah,
that slight grain.
So even my, like, empty spots look like they have that kind of paper grain to it.
Mm-hmm. Look at that.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. The eye is also the same color as the flesh.
Yep.
That's interesting. Yeah, the texture throughout this is so cool, because, it looks like it's either water damage or it's watercolor kind of splotches where water got dripped, or it was too wet in spots, and then it kind of lost.
It adds a type of character that you don't get in digital work. That's stuff that you miss on. You don't get those happy accidents when you do digital work. So it's nice to have brushes that emulate that.
Yeah.
I'm just staring at it now.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it. Oh, but that's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Well done.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of it. I'm tired of looking at it.
I'm sure. Well, I think that about wraps up for yours.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So, I'm sorry that we didn't get to yours today.
We'll be getting to it.
We'll be getting to it next time.
Next time, because it's Mermay.
It is Mermay.
So we gotta use up our May Mers some way.
So you did a mermaid as well, right?
Yep.
Okay. So next time we will see Ledges, the noob of our Newb versus Pro.
Indeed.
And I'm excited to see what you did.
Yeah, you should be. But anyways, if you liked this and want to see more, consider subscribing, throwing a like up on the video. It helps us to know we're doing something right. Consider going to Coffee to support as well, because every little bit helps to make this a reality and make this more consistent.
Indeed. And as always, I hope that you're all taking care of yourselves. Drink your water and do what you can. And we will be back in 2 weeks with Ledge's Mermay.
Wow!
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 Bye, everybody.
Bye!